Speaker, when the Air Canada was privatized under a previous Conservative government, Mr. Speaker, the Deputy Prime Minister of the day, Mr. Mazankowski, said, and I quote, "The Act would have to be amended if there were going to be any modification concerning the transfer of Air Canada's overhaul centres to another location." That was a very clear indication as to what the Deputy Prime Minister of the day said was in the law and the protection provided to workers. I'd like to ask the government spokesman today if he can tell us, does he agree or does he disagree with the statement that was made by the Deputy Prime Minister?
The Honourable Minister of Citizenship and Immigration.
Mr. Speaker, it's absolutely clear. The Minister of Transport, first of all, we obviously regret seriously, all of us in all parties, the loss of these jobs. It's very unfortunate for the workers affected. But let's be clear, the Minister of Transport has called upon for legal advice in respect of the obligations that may exist. He's also asked the Transport Committee of this place to study the issue, to call the parties together to get a full and transparent view of the views of all of those concerned.
The Honourable Member for Toronto.
The problem is, by the time the government gets around to doing anything about it, these jobs will have long been gone to El Salvador or somewhere else. That's the problem with the government's answer. This government spent $300 million moving a military base from Dubai to Kuwait because they alleged that they were going to be protecting, in the words of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, tens of thousands of jobs in Canada. The government cannot avoid its direct responsibility with respect to what is happening to Air Canada. Air Canada is the government's baby. Avio is Air Canada's baby. When is the government of Canada going to take some responsibility for what's taking place?
The Honourable Minister of Citizenship and Immigration.
Again, Mr. Speaker, we all regret when there is any loss of jobs. The reality, though, is that in the past 2 years, we have seen the creation of over 610,000 net new jobs. Now, the leader of the third party would have us increase taxes on employers and businesses in Canada, which would have the result of killing hundreds of thousands of jobs, Mr. Speaker, just like he did when he was Premier of Ontario and had the worst economic record in the history of that province. Thankfully, he won't be able to do it to Canada, what he did to Ontario.
Le ministre des Transports a déclaré « La loi est la loi et Air Canada devra la respecter ». Mais faire respecter la loi, c'est protéger les centres de Montréal, Mississauga et Winnipeg. C'est clair. Le chef libéral vient de lire l'engagement pris par le vice-premier ministre Mazankowski en avril 1988. Je cite encore cet engagement. Aucun centre ne perdra de son importance. Est-ce l'intention du gouvernement conservateur de faire passer le très honorable et respecté Don Mazankowski pour un menteur?
Honourable Ministre des Transports.
Monsieur le Président, nous reconnaissons que la perte de ces emplois est dévastatrice pour les travailleurs et leur communauté. J'ai demandé hier au Comité des transports d'entendre les parties intéressées dans cette histoire et les députés pourront poser toutes les questions qu'ils veulent, Monsieur le Président. Il faut cependant garder en tête qu'il s'agit d'une décision d'affaires impliquant 2 entreprises privées, Monsieur le Président, et nous n'envisageons aucun plan de sauvetage pour Avios et Air Canada, Monsieur le Président.
Honourable Deputy de Saint-Maurice-Champlain. The Honourable Member for Trinity Spadina.
2,600 jobs at Avios are being chopped in Toronto, Winnipeg and Montreal. These workers are desperate and they are here on Parliament Hill demanding help. Since '88, Conservative minister after Conservative minister have promised to protect these workers, promised to protect their jobs. Now we see none of these promises are worth anything. Nothing at all. Why won't the Conservatives stop breaking their promises and save these good jobs?
The Honourable Minister of Transport.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. We recognize that the loss of these jobs are devastating to the workers and their communities. I have asked to the Transport Committee to look into this issue and hear from the parties involved. This is ultimately a private sector issue between these two companies, so we are not contemplating any bailout for Avios or Air Canada. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
responsabilité de ministre. C'est au ministre de faire respecter la loi, puis c'est au ministre de mettre ses culottes. À Montréal seulement, c'est 1785 employés d'AVEOS qui se retrouvent sans emploi. Puis tout ce que le ministre du Transport a à dire, c'est on étudie la question. On sait ce que ça veut dire pour les conservateurs étudier la question. C'est plutôt on va faire semblant d'agir, puis on va oublier ce dossier-là. Est-ce que le ministre va mettre ses culottes, puis sauver ces emplois-là, faire respecter la loi?
Monsieur le Président, comme je l'ai dit hier, c'est un sujet très complexe, considérant l'analyse de cette loi-là. C'est facile de dire mettre tes culottes, je l'ai fait toute ma vie, Monsieur le Président. Cette députée-là, ce matin, était au comité de transport. On a parlé de la complexité du dossier, Monsieur le Président. Oui, c'est vrai. Je m'excuse. Monsieur le Président, c'est un dossier qui présentement est analysé, qui va l'être par le comité des transports. Les membres pourront poser toutes les questions qu'ils veulent, Monsieur le Président. Elle a fait référence à la région de Montréal, Monsieur le Président. Notre gouvernement, dans les dernières années, a investi 666 millions de dollars. Ça, c'est mettre ses culottes puis créer des jobs, Monsieur le Président.
Honourable member, when is the minister going to respect his duties and obligations? In Montreal alone, it's almost 2,000 employees who are out of jobs, and all of the Minister of Transport is saying is that we're studying the issue. We know what it means for Conservatives to study the question. They're going to pretend that they're doing something and then forget about it. Is the minister going to stand up and save these jobs and comply with the law? The Honourable Minister of Transport. Mr. Speaker, as I was saying yesterday, this is a very complex issue, and giving the analysis, it's easy to say stand up and do something, but this member was at the Transport Committee this morning. We talked about the complexity of the issue, and this is an issue that is being analyzed and will be by the Transport Committee. The members can ask all the questions they wish. She talked about the Montreal region. Our government, over the last few years, has invested some $600 million. That's pulling up your socks and creating jobs.
Speaker, the thousands of Canadians thrown out of work don't want excuses. They need action. Hundreds of people in Mississauga were suddenly left without jobs when Avios shut their doors. Like all out-of-work Canadians, their families relied on these jobs. That minister keeps stalling, hoping no one will notice. But we've noticed, and Canadians have noticed. Mr. Speaker, when will they act? The Conservatives are failing these families. When will he act?
The Honourable Minister of Transport.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Devastating, like I said before, for the workers and the family. The Standing Committee of Transport will hear next week or soon, as soon as they can. Avios, Air Canada, and the union, and all MPs will be present. We'll have to ask the question. That's a complex issue, and we will continue to work. And like I said yesterday, I repeated, the law is the law, and Air Canada Participation Act requires to maintain that it's said, and we will have to respect the law, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Winnipeg Centre.
Mr. Speaker, none of that is any consolation to the 410 employees in Winnipeg who've lost their jobs at Avios. The minister has the right and the power and the authority to act without any further study. I have one simple suggestion to make. Why doesn't he save the jobs and then study the issue instead of studying the issue and maybe save the jobs, Mr. Speaker? These jobs were protected by legislation while Mulroney sold out our national airline. It's up to him to act. His partner, the Minister of Labour, doesn't miss a beat trampling all over labour's rights. Why does he have to study it before he stands up for workers' rights?
Minister of Transport.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is ultimately a private sector issue between these two companies. So we are not contemplating a bailout for Avios and Air Canada, and we will continue to support the workers, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Winnipeg South Centre.
Des centaines de travailleurs d'Avios sont aujourd'hui sur la colline parlementaire pour se faire entendre du gouvernement. Ils demandent qu'Air Canada maintienne l'entretien de ses avions à Montréal, comme le stipule la loi sur la privatisation d'Air Canada. Ce gouvernement qui passe son temps à faire des spectacles sur la loi et l'ordre collabore avec cette entreprise délinquante pour violer sa propre loi. Est-ce que le ministre des Finances va cesser de se cacher, lui qui est responsable par décret de l'application de la loi, et prendre ses responsabilités en obligeant Air Canada à respecter la loi va-t-il cesser de se faire complice de cette fumisterie financière?
Honorable ministre des Transports.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Comme je l'ai dit tout à l'heure, nous reconnaissons que ces pertes d'emplois sont dévastatrices pour les régions concernées. Les témoins devront se présenter devant le Comité des transports et les questions seront posées, Monsieur le Président. Il faut garder en tête que ce sont deux entreprises privées qui sont impliquées là-dedans. Oui, Monsieur le Président, nous n'envisageons aucun plan de sauvetage pour Avios et Air Canada et notre gouvernement, dans les dernières années, a investi 666 millions de dollars dans la région de Montréal pour l'industrie aérospatiale, Monsieur le Président.